Hello everyone. Good evening. Welcome to our second session and second episode of the Fellowship League. If you're not familiar with Fellowship League, just like and subscribe or share our episodes and video and post. We'll be posting it. We'll be posting videos. We'll be posting content every single day for all of us to be encouraged and to be inspired by reading the Bible as well. So again, we are here. We are here with Carl and with
Hello.
si Alec, but his name is Francis Washer, and he has a picture of himself with Francis Chan.
Yes, and take
Unfortunately,
note
COVID,
and take note.
yeah,
Alec is our finest seminarian. Great
yes,
major in
combined,
theology. In
yes.
theology.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Kobe cannot join us because he has commitments to do. Since it's Labor Day, we all want to greet also everyone to a happy and blessed Labor Day. Hope you are all rested in times like these and also rested in the Word of God. So our session for tonight is the existence of God. So many are asking, or maybe we have this crossroads in our lives, that we ask, what is the existence of God? Uh, how does he exist? How did he became this being that we know that as God? So we will now look at it in different forms. I'll be looking at a natural theology. Carl will share to us his experience also on how the existence of God works, and uh, Francis Washer right here will be discussing his experience on experiencing or this crossroads between the existence of God. So let's begin. So I have my first topic, which is the natural theology. I'm encountering or I've been studying in Ligonier Connect as I undergo the discourse by the late R.C. Sproul. So natural theology, in essence, it is a result of general revelation. So natural theology was started by Augustine and was influenced by the Apostle Paul, but it was advanced by Saint Thomas Aquinas, which is the one that who really elevated this theme called natural theology. So the idea is the knowledge of God, it is gained from nature. So there are two types of revelations that God gives to us that to see His existence. The first is general revelation, that is something that God does. So general revelation is all of us here watching, all of us here alive, breathing, that all of us can see this general revelation that God says. It is can be nature, can be trees, can be seas, can be us human beings. For God to see that we are existing and He exists rather. And also in the general revelation, somehow in the content, which is the knowledge of God, which is in the Bible, the Lord reveals Himself that He exists. And you can see it in Genesis that in the beginning, God. So God created the heavens and the earth. So that one verse from Genesis reveals to us that God created the heavens and the earth, and the proof of His existence is His creation. So that is general revelation first. Second is special revelation, which is only by specific people can see. And there are two kinds of this special revelation. It is immediate and mediate. So immediate, it is direct. It is without without a medium. So it's without a medium. And they call it sometimes the senses of the divine. Yeah. So as we can see here, also in the second is mediate, which is revelation through some medium, or it is indirect, or it is a universal type of medium. So special revelation consists of um, God revealing Himself through the Word. God revealing Himself in a sense that we can understand Him by the words that we read in the Bible. And later on, we will see a couple of scriptures for us to support that answer. And so there are issues that have come up with this thing called natural theology, that there was an issue which was called the double truth theory that states that one is true but the other is false. But actually, St. Thomas Aquinas or Augustine wanted to prove that we can see the existence of God in nature and in grace, or in the truth and science. So we can look at Romans chapter 1, which is what we discussed, Alec or Mr. Washer here discussed yesterday or mentioned in Romans chapter 1, that it is we can know, or we can know the existence of God in the book. So we can just look at Romans chapter 1 verses 18 to 20. I'm actually reading an NIV, so if you have any Bibles or version that you can also check upon it, but the best is ESV. The wrath of God is being revealed from heaven against all the godlessness and wickedness of men who suppress the truth by their wickedness. Since what may be known about God is plain to them because God has made it plain for them. So we can see at verse 19 that God is already used general revelation. And because of this natural theology term came, there are certain claims that R.C. Sproul said that we don't need the Bible to know that God exists. Now, he has supportive answers for that. It simply means that God has already revealed himself through the general revelation, which is nature, which is us human beings, which is the environment and the air we breathe. But there is this thing that we can also see in the Bible, the existence of God. So, for since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that men are without excuse. So we can see here in natural theology that God is displaying himself by nature. All of the things that we can see, all of the things that we can know. But in also supporting to that fact that the R.C. Sproul said that we don't use the Bible as to know, we cannot use the Bible or anything. Actually, we need the Bible to support also the existence of God, because the Bible can clearly define, can clearly see that God exists. Natural theology came into existence just for us to have a glimpse that all of us human beings are looking for a certain supreme being that who created all this. All of us, even in our childish minds, even when we're children, teenagers, or maybe now, we have this kind of thought in just one late evening, just staring at the ceiling or just staring at something. We come up to a certain summary or conclusion that there's someone who made these things. It cannot happen only by chance. That's what natural theology is saying. So that is some of the things that I can give you about natural theology and about scripture. In Romans, we can see that God created all these things so that men are without excuse. Now, Carl will discuss more about it in the existence of God and by what he experienced and learned. So let's hear from Carl.
All right, thank you very much, Aaron, on your theological contribution in that wonderful course that you've been going through from Ligonier Ministries, led by R.C. Sproul. By the way, R.C. Sproul, for the viewers who don't know R.C. Sproul, he's one of the greatest theologians ever in the 20th century. And um, he knows a lot about philosophy as well. He's also a seminary professor. He teach in a seminary, and he doesn't teach. You know, when you think about seminaries, we think that it's always about theology, but no, it's not. They also teach. They're open-minded. They allow the students to also teach different worldviews, and to make allow them to think on their own, by their own methods, but still maintaining that important method of truth on the idea of logic and um, the sense perception reliability, basic reliability of sense perception. That is very important. The idea of analogical language and the loss of causality of logic that we always do every day. R.C. Sproul always emphasizes on those foundational principles before entering the theological subject. So you can search uh, you can search for R.C. Sproul, and he talks a lot about miracles. So what Aaron discussed earlier was just through the lens of natural theology, proving the existence of God. Now, if we widen the scope and we step back from theology and stay away and not stay away, sorry, like we just temporarily um, uh, take ourselves out of the scope of theology and then look at reality, and what do we see? The existence of God is so general, especially the word God itself. It depends on what we mean by the word God. Sociologists, also historians, and different social scientists have talked about the idea of God for so long, and also the idea of religion for so long. And they have different interpretations and different definitions and even methods used to determine what do you mean by God? Is it something? Is it a being? Is it an idea? Is it mystical religious experiences? Is it pantheistic? Is it defined in pantheistic terms? Which means there are many gods and you can be a god also. You be one with God, or you can go beyond your individuality and escape your individuality and become one, or you yourself uh, are God or gods. So that can be also a definition. There are many ways to see it. If you look at it historically, from a historical perspective, if you go from the 1900s onwards, starting from the 20th century, we can already see the start of what we call um, theothanatology. Theothanatology, which means the death of God. The death of God movement, or what we call the God talk controversy, wherein we have what we call the idea of logical positivism, the idea that verification needs to be verified through the senses. So it means DOG, dog, is more verifiable than GOD, because dogs can be seen and they can be touched and they can be tested in a laboratory, whereas God cannot be tested. So therefore, it's not true. So in other words, it has empirical, scientific single vision in through the lens of empiricism so far. Empiricism meaning five senses, just through the five senses. And philosophically, aside from empiricism, from there we have gone through this in the 20th century with this German philosopher by the name of Friedrich Nietzsche. And Friedrich Nietzsche is very known for the idea of God is dead. And he's also famous for the idea of Übermensch, meaning the Superman, where because God is dead, we have something inside of us that uh, we have not yet shown our true self. We have not yet broken our shell, that we can manifest our true form of humanity. And we also have this idea that morality is subjective. We have the genealogy of morals, wherein the vice and the virtue, they're just not what you think, but actually it should be your own vice and virtue and your own definition, and so on. Many attempts, many many episodes, and um, many areas in all aspects of all aspects of this whole 20th century. Many things have been done somehow to not really reject, but actually to find out that wow, um, we don't need God, and we need some other alternative to replace God and make more meaning, make more sense out of what we're doing in life. It's very radical and very really a big issue nowadays, especially in this time, especially in the time where we are right now. We are now living in the era of post-truth, meaning whatever you post is taken to be the truth. Post-truth era. So no meaning, uh, no certainty, no value. Um, in other words, what we call postmodernism has uh, taken its place nowadays on the throne of reality and also of philosophy. So theology has from theology before used to be the queen of the sciences. Now it has been dethroned. Now we have a new idea on the throne: postmodernism and post-truth. So there's no certainty, there's no meaning, there's no purpose in life. But from there, um, there were attempts as well in the other side of this, on the other side of this discussion. If we jump to the other side, there's also another group of scholars as well in this scholarship, in this area. Let's say this is the death of God movement. This group of scholars. Let's say I'll just compile all the scholars who are atheists, agnostics, skeptics, like Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris, Christopher Hitchens, the new atheists movement, the militant atheists in this area. In this area, we have the uh, scholars who attempt to like prove that there is a God, like William Lane Craig and Gary Habermas and Ravi Zacharias. So we have these scholars over here in this side that counters this view over here. Now what? Now I have researched this for a long time based on my experience. I used to be skeptic before, although I was a Catholic. I used to ask many questions about life, and I really want to find answers to these questions. And so I tried to look at both sides of these two areas until I ran into this area over here, which makes actually more sense than what the atheists are trying to prove. Let's say, for example, we cannot cover everything, but we are here to defend the existence of God. So we are in that position. We cannot go beyond that a little bit. So from my experience of listening to this area over here, what made me convinced that God really exists from these scholars? Let's first start with this philosopher, Christian philosopher by the name of William Lane Craig. You can go to William Lane Craig's website, Reasonable Faith. Um, and in one of his articles, he wrote there the 5 arguments for the existence of God. And here are the arguments. I'll just read it straight. Number 1 is the cosmological argument from contingency. So the argument goes like this: everything that exists has an explanation of its existence, either in necessity of its own nature or in an external cause. If the universe has an explanation of its existence, that explanation is God. The universe exists, therefore the universe has an explanation of its existence. Therefore, the explanation of the universe's existence is God. So that's the cosmological argument. Number 2, the Kalam cosmological argument, or the argument uh, from the idea of causality. So here it is. Everything that begins to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist. Therefore, the universe has a cause. So that's the Kalam cosmological argument, which is a very famous argument for monotheistic religions like Islam, um, Judaism, and all, especially Islam, because the Kalam cosmological argument is actually named after the Muslims. Actually, they contributed to this argument, and then later William Lane Craig revised and somehow made this known and famous for his argument. The third argument is the moral argument, which is based upon moral values and duties. So this is the syllogism. If God does not exist, objective moral values and duties do not exist. Objective moral values and duties do exist, therefore God exists. Number 4, teleological argument, which is the argument from fine tuning or design, in other words. Um, there are two premises and one conclusion here we have to consider. Here it is. The first premise: the fine tuning of the universe is due to either physical necessity, chance, or design. Number 2, it is not due to physical necessity or chance. Therefore, it is due to design. So that's the fourth argument. And the last argument that William Lane Craig famously used in his arguments for the existence of God is what you call the ontological argument from the possibility of God's existence to his actuality. Now this is really deep, so I'll try to be slow here. This is reformulated by Alvin Plantinga. So this is formulated by Alvin Plantinga, just to join Francis Washer here, just to make sure that we will not miss him in our really important discussion. So this is how the argument goes. It is possible. This is for the ontological argument from the possibility of God's existence to his actuality. it is possible that a maximally great being exists. Number two, if it is possible that a maximally great being exists, then a maximally great being exists in some possible world. Number three, if a maximally great being exists in some possible world, then it exists in every possible world. If a maximally great being exists in every possible world, then it exists in the actual world. If a maximally great being exists in the actual world, then a maximally great being exists. Therefore, a maximally great being exists. So those are the five arguments that um, he famously used. So here's the conclusion to all of those arguments, according to Lane Craig. He said this. Number one, God is the best explanation for why anything at all exists rather than nothing. Number two, God is the best explanation for the beginning of the universe. Number three, God is the best explanation of the fine-tuning of the universe for intelligent life. Number four, God is the best explanation of objective moral values and duties in the world. Number five, God is the best explanation of the historical facts concerning Jesus of Nazareth. And number six, God can be personally known. God can be personally known and experienced. Now, that number six conclusion is very crucial because this is where Francis Washer will enter in. But before we go to Francis Washer's um, experience, I want to read just to simplify those five arguments. So that's from William Lane Craig. I'm now gonna get this from Dallas Willard, who is an American philosopher. You can search for him about that through Ravi Zacharias, who's my greatest model in the field. So I'm reading from Ravi Zacharias' book, Can Man Live Without God? And in the author's note, he wrote here, which is actually an apologetic education for viewers, for all readers who wants to know how to defend the existence of God and how to see logically that God is the logical explanation for the world and his own existence as well. So this is Dallas Willard. Um, he goes through the argument in three stages. Stage one, however concrete physical reality is sectioned, the result will be a state of affairs which owes its being to something other than itself. So, in other words, the probability of something physical coming from nothing is zero, and not a single physical state or event being observed or otherwise known is known to originate from nothing. Nothing creates nothing because nothing is nothing. So whenever you section out or cut, let's say an apple. I have an apple over here. I'm eating right now an apple. No matter how you try to cut the apple, it will not explain its own origins because there's no such thing as ultimate origins from its existence itself. It has to come from outside because the probability is zero. Nothing comes. It's a logical fallacy to say that something comes out from nothing. And just like what C.S. Lewis said, an egg which came from no bird is no more natural than a bird which had existed from all eternity. So that's good. Stage two. Uh, Stage two is the teleological argument, which is an argument to design. It's an argument to design. So it presupposes a text of design within a context of facilitating that actualization. So in other words, not all order has evolved. So there has to be a design, a mind behind all of this. And for there to be a mind, there has to be a will. So something to create something has to have a mind. So evolution doesn't fit in this context because evolution teaches us abiogenesis. We come from nothing, which has no mind and no will, no ontological state, no being. So therefore, it's illogical. It's illogical. It has to come from a being that has a mind and has a will, which is God. And number three, this is where the sixth conclusion I mentioned here earlier enters the scene. And stage three is this. It is an argument for God from the course of human events. So this is historical, social, and individual within the context of a demonstrated extra-naturalism and of quite plausible cosmic intellectualism. So it's really quite deep. But in other words, it goes like this. This human life is to be interpreted within the ontological space of the actualities, with their intended possibilities hewn down in stages 1 or 2. So this is really a big lump of meat that you cannot swallow. I know it's really difficult to understand, but that is the intellectual way of expressing that logically God cannot really uh, God has to exist. It, it is based upon what we see right now. Just like what was mentioned earlier by Aaron here. What Nietzsche has been doing, what these philosophers have attempted to do, it breaks down. Yes, we need science, we need scientific method, we need empiricism. Let me put it this way, together with what Aaron a while ago said, natural theology and all those things. Um, Starting from the scientific revolution, we have this change of philosophies. From rationalism, we have Rene Descartes. Rene Descartes reduced the idea of God into an idea. So from a being of God, he reduced it to an idea. And it's just all reason all around, all reason. So we have left faith. It's not anymore faith, but it's just reason alone. Rationalism. And then we have David Hume, empiricism, where everything has to come from, has to be done in the scientific laboratory. And then when it's there to the senses, it's true. And then we enter the emotional era, wherein we have this existential longing, where you yourself lift yourself up from your own bootstraps. So it's like your own will. The now is important, um, and nihilism has held sway along the way with existentialism. So we have Friedrich Nietzsche, like what I mentioned earlier. Friedrich Nietzsche, God is dead. We also have Jean-Paul Sartre and this great philosophers Albert Camus, um, and Soren Kierkegaard as well enter the scene. And then now we enter the idea of the deconstruction era, wherein postmodernism held sway. We have Jacques Derrida and we have this Paul de Man and this great really intellectual philosophers, like including the French philosopher Michel Foucault. So we have rationalism, empiricism, existentialism, and we have postmodernism. Actually, we these are very important things. I agree with that. We're not here to reject all of these ideas because these are valuable. The problem of humanity is that we take one finger, just take one finger, we think we have the whole fist of reality already. That's wrong. All of this has to work together. And it's only God Himself that is logically consistent from nature itself and from His will and connecting to our experience that we can see a logical explanation that God exists and He wants to love us and He is part of our experiences if we have the choice to love Him and to also accept Him. Now we enter now that love part, that experience. So Paul Washer, please, Alec, you may say something already. It's awesome. I can't wait to hear him.
Hello, good evening.
By the way, we have 10
Thank,
minutes. We have 10 minutes left. By the way,
okay, thank you so much. God bless. I thank God for this opportunity. So, I'm blessed by Carl and Aaron sharing. Now I will share mine, and the reason I have Francis there because I like him. He's one of my influences. I am blessed by him, and I call him Daddy Chan, by the
all
way.
right.
So, here, according to Warren Wiersbe, says that the heart of the problem is the problem of the heart. So, we as people, we long for relationships. Okay? You can't excuse that. You have a crush, come on, be honest now. And you need someone to satisfy you. So what do people do? They do this, they do that, but at the end they suffer. And at the end they have guilt because of doing those things. According to Ecclesiastes 3:11, yet God has made everything beautiful for its own time. He has planted eternity in the human heart. But even so, people cannot see the whole scope of God's work from beginning to end. So what does that mean? This is what many Christians call the God-shaped hole, something like that, that only God can feel. So we have eternity in our hearts, but because of the fall, because man drifted away, we begin to seek for temporary things. So you may have peace, you may have happiness in your crush, in your girlfriend, in someone, but it's not eternal. It's temporary. You may like McDonald's, but when you eat it, you will just you just go to the bathroom after that, and then no more. So it's temporary. But here, eternity is what we need. And that's why in John 3:16 it says that for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son Jesus, so that anyone who believes in him, listen, will not perish but what? Will have eternal life. See, that is it didn't say temporary life of happiness, but eternity, eternal life. And eternity doesn't start after we die. It starts today if you choose Jesus. Also, about the existence of God, inspiring philosophy said that even though even though you see, let's say for example you have a wife, for example, you see her, but the question is, do you love her? Do you love her just mahal mo lang ba siya because you see her? What if she's far away from you? Do you still love her? It's not about seeing. It's about the heart. The heart. That's why Jesus says he rules in the heart of the person. Also, Dr. Ravi Zacharias, I'll paraphrase. He said that every leader wants to rule physically, but Jesus rules in the heart. He wants to rule in our hearts. No matter in any situation, if you have Jesus, you have eternal joy, eternal peace that is not temporary. So us, the reason we do this is because we experience that. We experience joy, peace. Every time we pray, every time we come to Jesus, we have peace and we have this eternal joy, eternal peace that will never end. So I challenge you to the viewer, if you're not a believer in Christ, why not seek Him? Why not read the Gospel of John? Why not ask yourself, why? Ang dami mo nang ginagawa, still, hindi ka pa rin content. Still, you can't find the meaning, the purpose of your existence. So that's all. May God bless you, and I'll hand it over to Aaron.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
thank you. It's very we don't expect to be that explained from Mr. Francis Washer over here. Yeah, I was really amazed by this. So if you have any questions, we can I think answer one question. If you have a couple of minutes remaining, we have still minutes.
yeah, we still have, I think, 6 minutes. So,
Yeah,
um,
I believe Mr. Washer has some questions more than me and
Okay, so yes, I have a question. I have lots of questions.
maybe we'll just focus on
Yeah, let's
proceed
focus
with
on
this
our
one. Maybe
topic.
maybe
Yeah.
just
yeah.
So you,
yeah, just maybe just one question
yeah.
because this might extend like really beyond the 5 minutes thing.
Yeah.
Hey,
Oh,
what up,
what's your question, Mr. Washer?
Mr. Washer?
Yeah, we wanna we wanna hear from you. Oh, wait now.
Yeah, he'll type it.
I have to type.
Okay.
So yeah, you heard our stance, our experiences, and
Okay.
how we understand
Here.
and perceive
So
the
here.
existence of God. Yeah,
Excuse me.
yeah.
Sorry about that.
Hey,
Sorry about
okay,
that.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's the just a quick question. So how about so you were talking about God's existence. So you guys did a good job on explaining, praise God. So how about those who doubt? Let's say they're doing their best, but they doubt.
Okay. Yes. That's a really a good
Any que-
that's a good question. Can you wanna say something, Aaron, or because we have to decide already? Because
any que-
if one of us speak, then we'll go straight
Yeah,
already until the end. So
it's your turn.
so I'll take it. Okay. Thank you very much, brother Aaron. That's good. Okay, so that's a very good question, bro. I believe many Christians nowadays, especially Christians and those people who are so sincere with their questions. Yes, this question has been really really important to ask, and this should be asked actually. I can the source I can get from here is from Dr. Gary Habermas, who earned his PhD from Liberty University. He's PhD in history, but personally in his life, he was able he experienced this loads of doubt, and so he entered this he even gone through like cognitive therapy, and and even talked to uh, a therapist there. I mean, a certain professional on the field on that topic. So he wrote a book. You can go to his website, garyhabermas.com. Uh, he wrote a book entitled The Thomas Factor. I forgot the subtitle, but it's all about how you use your doubt, how you handle your doubt. That's that dot dot dot. So um, that's the gist of it. So basically, there are three kinds of doubt. We have factual doubt, we have emotional doubt, and we have volitional doubt. The factual doubt is like simply saying, like a skeptic who's saying, I will not believe it unless you give me some evidence. If you give me an evidence and it's logical and it makes sense, I'll believe it. But then we have another level. Think of it like a ladder. We have the factual doubt on the bottom, and then we have next is emotional doubt. Now that is difficult. Of course, it's more difficult when it's volitional doubt, because those two simply tells us that it's simply if a person has emotional and volitional doubt, the emotional doubt, it's more like, how am I sure if I'll go to heaven? How am I sure my parents just passed away and my dad just passed away? Is there hope, or is there really hope in the other side of life? Will I really be saved? If I'm a Christian, will I really be saved? How can I be sure if I'm saved? How am I sure that God exists? Mga ganun. And then friends, it involves really emotions and relationship. And then came volitional doubt. Volitional doubt, it's really extreme. It's really the extreme, because you're like cynical already. Whatever you hear from other people, you will not believe it. And there's such thing as that. And there are people like that. And we cannot avoid it. So that's why the best thing we can just do is to just continue to help more people in this. Now, for us to solve that issue of doubt, it's okay to ask questions. That is the only way to escape from doubt. You ask questions and you explore the answers to those questions. And when you explore the answers to those questions, you have to be committed. You have to be committed. And and doubt just enters in like a temptation, like an obstacle. It just comes back. But you have to be committed to continue to pursue that goal. So that's just my that's my brief answer for the sake of time. I suggest to you, you keep reading the Bible. You try to read the Gospels, and then you investigate on that Gospels, and then see, ask questions, and then you'll find out how do you solve this doubt. So there, I think that's all. Thank you very much for joining us. Forgive us for the sake of time, and God bless you guys, and we'll see you again soon. Okay, so
Yeah.
God bless, God bless. Next time again, next days.
Thank you. God bless you guys.
Tomorrow we'll be discussing on gospel, Jesus and the gospel. So stay tuned. You'll hear more from us on those topics. We'll try to expand more on the answers on that tomorrow night. Same thing. God bless, guys. See you.